All right, hello, and welcome back to this live-ish recording for SecT. This is, of course, Säkerhetspodcasten. I'm Johan Dybemöller. I'm here with Rickard Bodfors.
As always.
And James Harrison, right? Is that
Hello,
correct?
yes.
See?
Awesome.
I've got a bit of a memory for names.
Perfect.
Nice to have you here,
Sometimes.
James.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for an awesome talk.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh,
Incredible
thank you.
stuff.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
It
I
was
hope
magical.
I hope there was something in there worth value to you. So
Yeah,
Definitely.
glad you enjoyed it.
Just to introduce you to our viewers
Okay.
and listeners,
Yep.
you started out as a magician and slided over into pickpocketing.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, I got into magic from the very beginning. For me, was a lot later in life than most people. Most people talk about how I got a magic kit for Christmas, and that's
Right.
how I knew I'd become a magician. I'm like, no. Before I got into magic, I was big into martial arts, multiple black belts, won competitions, the whole thing. And I blew my knee out, and I was bedridden for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So I had a lot of free time on my hands. So I saw, of all people, David Blaine on television.
Sure.
And I was like, I always wanted to learn to do that. Let's learn to do that. So I started learning. Got quite good at it because of the same obsessiveness that you have with martial arts I did with magic, and that
Right.
translated well, and started performing and all the rest of it. And I just gravitated towards the pickpocketing side of, I liked magic that stuff would appear in your pockets or disappear from your person and appear somewhere else. So I would practice that. And I found out that apparently pickpocketing is genetic because as I was watching a video on how it worked back in the day, a great French film called Pickpocket, if you ever get a chance to watch it, just for watching the techniques, it's amazing. And my dad watched it and said it was so much easier back when I was a kid.
What?
What? And he goes, yeah, I used to do this in high school. Didn't I tell you that? And I'm like, no, you did not.
It was literally in your blood.
Teach me, Obi-Wan. Let's go. And so, yeah, apparently it's genetic. The only difference is I found a way to do it and not go to jail.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to hacking in that sense. Like the IT security industry, a lot of people come from...
Shady background.
well, shitty backgrounds, or at least an interest may have started somewhere, as with pickpocketing, breaking into systems, but then figuring out how to do it legally.
Well,
That's awesome. I mean, doing something you love and getting paid for it.
Yes, there's always a better vocation than doing something you hate and just being miserable.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been a blast. I've enjoyed the conference, and everyone's really polite, overly so.
Well, they're still fairly sober, I think.
That's well,
part of it.
should be different tonight then.
I imagine that there's going to be some people trying to pick your pockets.
That's why I brought this. I
Yeah.
actually brought dummy phone
Really?
for people to try because I did at DEF CON. I do workshops so people can feel what it's like to do it. Because to protect yourself from it is one thing, but that's like sort of like I know self-defense by punching a punching bag.
Right.
You've never been punched back? Oh, well.
Then you don't really know.
Then you don't really know. So it's the same with pickpocketing. If you've never taken something out of someone's pocket, then you don't know what it's really like. So you don't know what to feel for or look for. So that's why I like doing the workshops. Not so I have a rampant troop of pickpockets under my name, but for people just to be able to understand, like, oh, that's what it's really like. This is how close someone has to really be.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people tend to be distracted or mystified with Hollywood on the romantic idea of how it works, and in reality, it's much more down and dirty.
But that's that. I mean, you were talking a lot about that during your talk about getting into someone's personal space, and that is the major challenge, and also to distract them from what you're doing.
You have to be a toucher.
Yeah.
If
You really touchy-feely.
well, you don't have to be over. You don't have to be creepy.
No. Handsy.
Yeah, but you have to understand how to be within someone's personal space and understand that you will have to touch them.
Yeah, and without making them uncomfortable.
Right, and you learn that through interactions. Like, you have to be bad at something before you get good at it. And I've been caught. I'm not going to tell you I'm this superhero pickpocket guy that I never get caught. I'm amazing. No, I to this day, I've been doing it for 20 years. I still have people kind of catch me on stuff, but it's a numbers game.
But it's fun, and I mean, like, speaking of magic, and I found that because I've been dabbling a little bit with this sort of stuff as well.
I'll be happy to see you do some stuff at the bar. Come
on.
I
haven't done it for years, but I found that because I can never get very good with like card tricks or that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know. I just probably didn't have the focus to dedicate the energy to build up that sort of manual dexterity.
Okay.
But on the other hand, one of the most effective sort of tricks that I found that you could do very easily, especially like in a bar setting, is if you prepare something and then reverse pickpocket, place something in someone's pocket, and then hours later use some simple mentalism trick to whatever it is, like, or make a coin disappear that you've written something on, or force them to write a specific sentence or something, and you're already prepared hours ahead of time by placing that in the pocket, and then making that disappear and then reappearing seemingly by magic in their pockets. It's very effective.
I use that. I've only done it a couple of times because the circumstances were correct for it. But I have borrowed someone's wallet without them knowing, put something in their wallet that I have a duplicate of.
Right.
Put it back in their pocket without them knowing, walk away, come back, do a trick. That item vanished. Yeah. And say, sir, pull out your pocket, your wallet. Yeah. And I don't say where exactly it is. I don't go, pull the wallet out of your left pocket on the on the back side of your pants. Like, no, it's just pull out your wallet. And they pull out the wallet and say, open it up. What's inside? And they're like, holy cow, that thing that we just saw vanished and appeared in my pocket.
Near me.
Right. And that's something that I sort of make mention in the talk, is that it's not... I consider what the mythology of pickpocketing is like a crime of passion. You have this thing. I want this thing. I'm going to take this thing.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's no. I'll hunt you. I'll follow you around for a while, kind of thing, if I really want that thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do intel first. I'm going to find out, like, oh, that's where he keeps it all the time. It only comes out when he's sitting at the table. Okay, great. That gives me an opportunity to make my job a little less hard.
It's intelligence gathering.
Yeah.
Yes, just like with hacking and security and breaching and all that kind of stuff.
Or any, like, you do physical engagements. You do weeks of reconnaissance before you actually do your engagement.
Now with pickpocketing, I don't have weeks. I have a day.
Yeah.
A day at most. Maybe an hour, because the more time you're wasting on a person, that's more time that could have been spent stealing something else that was easier.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So if it's a specific thing for like physical penetration testing, I have more time. I have, a couple hours. Let's see what we can do.
Sure.
Find out where they go for restaurants. Find out like where do they hang out, bus stops, whatever multiple people are at. That gives me an opportunity to sort of do an intel, which should only take a couple minutes. I find out what you're doing.
Right.
You pretty much are on rinse repeat
until
the bus shows up or while you're sitting at the restaurant. That at least has given me enough information to go on and like, this is what I would use to do this thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I go into great detail at the workshop that I get asked to do is that I explain for people to get an understanding of it is a lot of people go to restaurants, they'll put their cell phones on the table because they don't want it bent in their pocket.
Yeah.
If I can find a way to put something on top of said phone and then say I have to leave and pick up said thing and the phone, that's still pickpocketing. It's not as glamorous as me reaching in a pocket without you feeling it.
Sure.
But that still happens.
And the
end game is there. I mean,
the end result.
Exactly, the result is the same.
Exactly, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But it's still sleight of hand.
Right.
It's still understanding direction of attention.
Yeah.
And it works under the same guise. It's just our pockets are now further away from us, so to speak.
It's like you were explaining about pickpocketing, and a woman is usually easier because they have their stuff in a handbag.
Genuinely, yes. Most women will have a purse or a handbag or of some sort. Mm-hmm. And if I want to make my life super simple, I'd wait for them to open up that purse. Like, they'll pull the zipper open for them, and if they're in the rush, they'll leave it open.
Yeah.
Now, I've noticed that while waiting in lines, I've seen women literally see me. I'm not a small person by any means, but if I'm standing beside them, I've seen them literally zip a purse close without even seeing me do anything. It's just because by instinct they'll zip it up because they realize that's happened. But if I do my job right, they don't know I'm behind them in the first place. That purse is wide open. There's a cell phone. There's a wallet. I look at it as the equivalent of those machines that drop down the hook to pick up the stuffies. Yep. That's what their purse is like. It's whatever's loosest is coming out.
So
it's like an amusement park.
Yeah, a little bit.
So that's probably on the easier scale of things.
Yes.
What would you say are some of the harder items to pickpocket?
Harder items.
Or locations.
Harder locations. I find, honestly, the back pocket. Back pocket and an fitted wallet. Usually in North America, it's called a Costanza wallet. Mm-hmm. George Costanza from the Seinfeld. Yep. He pulled out his wallet, and it was this like big sandwich of a thing that he keeps in his back pocket. And we jokingly call people that have those kind of wallets a Costanza wallet. That I can't get. I wouldn't even bother trying. It's just stuck in that guy's back pocket. I'm not going to bother. Front pockets are actually easier, especially with cell phones.
Yeah.
A lot of people have cell phones, and the cases that they have, unless it's like an OtterBox, which is just full-on rubber, they're still nice and smooth, and they slide right out of pockets.
Yeah. What about cargo pockets? I mean,
I find, well, in this case, your cargo pockets, not so much because you have this nice zipper that goes across. Yeah. But a lot of pockets, they just have the two buttons. Yeah, and if you put too much stuff in a pocket, the pocket tends to bow open. Yeah. And it's just it's like a purse for a man. Mm.
Yeah.
Just things pop out of that pocket because it's just open now. Because you're not supposed to put a lot of stuff in those pockets. That's just for convenience more than anything.
Sure.
But people put like 4 or 5 different items in there because it's just open space that's not affecting my waist. Mm-hmm. So that's what they do with it. And I find that because of that weight, it opens up the bottom part of the pocket, so I don't even have to bother with the buttons. Mm. So I can just put my 2 fingers in and go hunting.
Go fishing.
Yep.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah. Another part of your talk that fascinated me as well was, I think it was actually just a question at the end, but when you got into talking about the booster bags, like how would you go about stealing a bag? And for our audience, maybe you can describe what that is, and are there some other tools of the trade?
Well, a booster bag is what on the outside is a normal bag. It could look like a doctor's bag or a gym bag, but the inside is designed to go over top of another bag and use essentially like a gravity weight that when it pushes on it, the weight of it being pushed onto it keeps it in the bag, and you are able to lift your bag and their bag inside the bag underneath, and that allows it to go with it and walk with it.
Right.
But that would require quite a bit of intel before, because you have to know the dimensions of the bag that you're trying to get. Under security sense, yes, I would need more intel because I need to get this specific thing.
Sure.
If I'm doing like a penetration of physical items and stuff like that, and I want to get that guy's suitcase or whatever.
Get that access card that's in the bag.
On the other hand, if you're a pickpocket and just going for something out of opportunity, then
I just need the one bag, and I'm looking for everything that fits, everything that looks like a nail for my hammer.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
yes. So what are some other tools that a pickpocket might use?
One tool that I've always been fascinated with, and unfortunately I live in a country that switchblades are illegal, so I don't get to have one. Yeah. But it's a switchblade. But what they've done is they've grounded down the blade into a hook. Mm-hmm. So the back end of it, the very tip of it, starts to curve in.
Right.
And they use that hook to slice open bottoms of purses and back pockets where the wallet is. Mm. So although it's razor sharp, they just have to touch it and do that. And you can still check your pocket and like, nope, my wallet's good. He didn't get anything, even though you felt it. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Because now all he's going to do is he's going to follow you.
Until it drops.
Yeah, until that hits the floor.
Yeah.
5-10 minutes, I wait. If nothing falls, on to the next person. And someone else can get it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how you don't have to worry about nasty zippers and stuff.
Right, yeah. But now I've noticed that they're trying to sell these pants that can't be cut. I'm very disappointed in that.
And I guess that... you might want to avoid accidentally stabbing someone.
That is something that I
it's usually bad.
It's usually bad, and that's why you have that curved hook on the blade.
Destroying someone's pants.
Right, and as funny as it would be on stage, I think a lot of people would probably find that a little, at least the person on stage would find that a little disappointing that happened. A little bit, yeah. I'd have to be offering pants at every performance.
Which, I mean, might not be a bad idea.
You can have my branding on the leg pant.
Yeah.
That'd be good. But
by stepping on this stage, you accept the risk of going home pantsless.
No one's going to come to my shows then.
But I was thinking, using this, using your techniques in a physical engagement, because there are some of the things that you were mentioning on stage that I directly could translate into usable techniques when it comes to trying to swipe someone's cards,
right?
Distracting them from their lanyards that they're carrying around their necks and so on. So have you been contracted for doing like physical engagements like that?
Not as of yet.
Okay.
I didn't know this was a thing until this year. Actually, that was an actual vocation, because I found that out at DEF CON and listening to the Darknet Diaries.
Yep.
I found out that was an actual vocation, and I'm like, I've been doing that for years. You're telling me I can get paid to do that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I used to love. I haven't paid for a convention in like 10 years.
It's great, man. It's great fun. You can also, another good scam is running a podcast.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, combining that in with some lockpicking as well. That sort of stuff.
Yes.
Like
I find lockpicking very fascinating.
And that's it's kind of.
I love lockpicking. I mean, and that's
It's funny how these kinds of interests are so common. Yeah,
together.
People in the security field, like. Even if we work with computers every day, there's a lot of overlap with people who are interested in lockpicking or pickpocketing
and also social engineering. That's a lot of what you do.
I have to
understand you right.
I have to. We were talking to some ladies after my performance. They were asking questions like, "How do you get into people's personal space, and how do I do it because I'm not you?" And I'm like, well, first off, you're a lady, so you are probably going to be able to get into more personal space than I can. So I have to be more charming and less threatening, because I'm a fairly large guy. I'm not as big as some people, but I'm a fairly big guy, and I have to dumb that down to be able to go into people's personal space, and not becoming effeminate, but like mascots do for little children. Like they're in these big scary costumes. Just be less intimidating.
More
I guess
teddy bear and less grisly.
Yes, and in doing so, that allows me to get into personal space and be that social engineering kind of thing allows me to. As being the dumb foreigner, like, oh, I'm so sorry, I am terrible, I don't know what I'm doing. And in doing so, I've already got my hand on you. It's not a big thing because that's an okay thing. Like I'm needing help. When you need help, you touch someone, like, please help me.
Yeah.
And I prey on, well, not in a literal sense. I don't do that for real, but you would use that to prey on people.
Yeah, sure.
You're taking something that is in everyone, and our nature is you want to help people. You really
empathy.
do. And if you can help people, it makes you feel good because you helped someone step up in their life.
Sure.
Unfortunately, there are people out there that take advantage of that. And pickpocketing is one of them.
Right.
So...
another question that just struck me was the demonstrations that you give on stage were obviously standing up or close to a table or something like that. But would you ever do pickpocketing sitting down, like for example, like we are sitting now?
There are techniques for stealing stuff when people are sitting. There's actually a pickpocket that was well known for that. His name was Mark Raffles, a great pickpocket. I believe he's British. I apologize. I'm still running on very little sleep from from flying here. But Mark Raffles used to pickpocket sitting down, and he was great at it. This guy lift everything and anything that wasn't nailed down, the guy would get. And he would do it with two people, one person sitting on one side of the table, the other person sitting on the other side of the table. And while he was stealing things, he'd put things in your face, and he was very
actively
distracting you. Myself, I'm a little more low key. I don't know. I'm sure it translated very well when I was standing on stage, but I'm a big believer of minimalist movement. If I don't have to waste movement doing something, I won't.
Sure.
So if I'm going to take something out of your pocket, I'm going to try and go the most direct route I can. And that's me being funny and genuine, but also trying to make sure that you're going to do what I want.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Well, I have to be in charge. I mean, it's just not only does it help my OCD, but...
while still having your mark believe they are in charge.
Yes, that is key. Yeah. If anyone feels that they are in charge, they are far more relaxed.
Yeah, sure.
Because they feel like there's nothing this person can do because I'm in charge. Yeah. I am in control of the situation.
So you lower your threat levels and you...
I hate saying it like that, though. I got to come up with a better word, because saying threat levels is like, instead of I got a knife, I just have a spork. You know, I think I need a better word than threat levels.
We'll figure something out.
Okay, fair enough.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's just that what's a good word for it? Just your awareness level.
Yeah, sure.
If I can lower that. And you're no longer on red alert, then I have a greater opportunity to borrow things than, say, if I'm coming off as aggressive and everything. But that sometimes changes. I found that I have to be aggressive with certain people because it's the only way they'll shut up and let me do my job.
And I imagine that people respond differently. I mean,
yeah,
not everyone's the same.
Not everyone's the same, but that being said, we're not all unique snowflakes.
I mean, that was, I mean, one of the things that you got asked the question, and I believe your reply was something like, I would be very aggressive or something like.
If I have to be, if I have to be, yes.
And that wouldn't look nice on stage, of course.
No, it's
you'd have to shout at them.
I'm entertained. Yeah, no. I don't want to do that.
I can't believe you're doing this.
Yeah, I don't want to do that on stage because that's not what is. It'll be entertaining for some. Yeah. Won't be entertaining for all, and it certainly won't be entertaining for the nice person that decided to come up. No. And that, as you saw in the talk, I asked the gentleman in the front, and his face went white.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
be embarrassed in front of all these people.
That's what his immediate reaction was, and I'm like, okay. We're going to let this bounce off him to the other guy because the other guy behind him was like, me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, perfect. Yes.
Let's do it.
You.
Yeah.
Let's get you up here. But the other guy, honestly, I had scoped him out. He had a cell phone. He had a wallet. He had a watch. I think he had a couple other items. I would have been able to borrow more things on stage. But I took who I could get, because I don't want to get manhandly, if that's a word.
No, well, we'll make it one.
Yeah. But it
works.
I've seen older pickpockets, at least theatrical pickpockets, where they're very aggressive and moving the person. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I find that allows them to remember the moment it happened more later on.
Yeah.
If they can pinpoint, this is when it happened. He was pushing me and moving me around and all the rest of it stuff. That's when they can trace it back. But if you can be a little more gentle, I guess is the right word, or more less aggressive, I guess would be a better word. Like I still have to be in charge. I still have to put you in the right position. But if I'm not
in a way that you might remember specifically afterwards.
Exactly. If you can pinpoint certain spots, then you can go back and go, that's when he did it.
You got a bit lucky there that Dan was in the front row, right?
Dan was chomping on the bit to come up, and I'm happy he was, because it made my life easier. I don't know where Anders went. He was supposed to come up because he had the jacket and I can work all the stuff. And then he showed up halfway through the show, and I'm like, well, it's too late now. I've already got Dan up here.
Well,
but thankfully, Dan was a great sport to come up and
you got to demonstrate how you'd work with the carabiner as well.
Yeah, and those his was a unique one. The lock ones, and the only reason I used him is because he had one. But I wouldn't go after his because he has that weird twist locky thing. But in actual sense, if Dan is busy doing something, I can take my time and actually twist it and open it and everything.
And I imagine if you know that you're going after that sort of item,
then you would take the time to practice to do it. Learn how to do it with probably one hand.
So the big secret of magic, actually, the amount of time it takes to learn.
They're fairly easy. I mean, I've been doing some mountain climbing, and it's fairly easy to operate with one hand. They're made for being operated with one hand.
They have to be, because the other hand's working with something.
Exactly.
Probably holding on to something.
Yeah. So, and they are safe. They will never fall off deliberately. But they do make it way easier for a person like myself to just pinch and turn. And it's off. It's easy to go. And it's the same with lanyards. A lot of lanyards tend to have that nice little pinch. Not so much the ones that they have here at this conference where you have to pull a lever and open it. They usually have a little tension spring where you just squeeze it. And if you can get close enough to squeeze that, it's just a quick lift and off. And it's fun, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, can you get one of these off?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but not right now." Not right now, because you deliberately came up and asked me. You're going to see everything now. But it's an opportunistic skill. My friend in England, his name's James Brown. He put out a book called he calls himself the Opportunist.
I think he put out a number of albums as well.
Yes, that's the funny thing. But he is a pickpocket and hypnotist in England, which I think is really the real reason he's able to get away with pickpocketing, is he just hypnotizes them ahead of time and steals stuff. But he uses that kind of stuff where it's just, he's brilliant at it, and he works with just fun little stuff like that.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you guys. Thank you for inviting me out here and getting to chat about something that I don't get that often to chat about.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'm sure there'll be people buying you drinks at the bar all night long.
Perfect.
Trying to steal your stuff.
Pick your pockets.
Thankfully, I got those dummy ones ready to go. So I'm ready.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay.
Later.
Sorry.